say Merry Christmas to everybody out there.
Yep.
Hope you had a great Christmas. I sure did.
And Happy New Year coming up.
Yeah, New Year's coming up. So
couple days.
Yeah. DJing a party.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tim.
Yeah, what up, Tim?
And Mary.
Yep.
Yeah, So what's up, Johnny?
Oh, nothing, man. Just I got a couple of those videos out for the holiday.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Which ones did you put out? Just so in case they haven't seen them yet.
Best of episode 12, and why Johnny and Jamie can't sit next to each other.
Dude, that was hilarious, man. That was fucking brilliant, dude.
And I compiled that one for you guys' viewing pleasures.
That was pretty good.
And the What is a Libertarian?
Yeah, what is a Libertarian? Yeah, we'll be talking about a little bit more about that later on today.
Yep.
About that video and
other stuff about that.
Yeah, what a Libertarian is, all that good stuff. But first, we want to start out by talking about the troop withdrawal from Syria.
Yeah, Trump's ordered the withdrawal of almost 2,000 troops, is what we've got the numbers on, and that's recent. That's only in the last few days.
Yeah, so it's causing a lot of controversy. I guess people don't. They're saying it's going to be similar to what happened a few years ago with the Obama, Obama era presidency, whatever. That it's going to create more havoc than it helps. So, but I can't, dude. I don't get it. 2,000 troops in Syria.
Yeah, not even 2,000 troops, and it's going to cause this major problem.
What did they say? Nearly 2,000 troops.
Yeah, that's what they say on every report that we've watched.
So nearly 2,000 troops could be like 1,600 troops, right?
It could be. Yeah,
that's nearly 2,000 troops.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
could be something like that. It could be 1,800, whatever.
Yeah. So as a libertarian or somebody who leans more towards non-aggression, overseas aggression. Yeah, like I was happy to hear the news. I was like, we shouldn't be there anyway. I understand that there's a lot going on with Assad and protecting our interests.
Right. Well, I mean, when Trump was running, he did say, and I mean, we can't believe anything any politician says, but he was saying that he wanted to pull the troops out of the overseas.
Right. He said it since the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here it is. Here it's now.
And not to get on his side in any way, shape, or form at all, but his game plan could have been to do these small actions that he had to do for the last year and a half, 2 years, whatever, and then be able to withdraw.
I'm kind of in the camp like give credit where credit is due.
Sure.
I'm not on board with everything, but I am on board with some things.
And a little teaser for you guys. We found out a little bit more information that why he's doing this most likely as well.
Right. So
it's not just about the freedom angle that we kind of are excited about.
Yeah, we're talking about, just the whole, what you see on the media versus what is really happening. And so we're going to give you the facts. So Johnny's going to play a video and she's going to tell us the facts. And then we're going to go to another video and we're going to show you the difference.
All right, here we go.
For joining us, the White House has ordered the Pentagon to begin planning for the immediate withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria. That's according to a U.S. defense official. Nearly 2,000 soldiers are on the ground right now. President Trump has expressed his desire to pull the troops before, and today he said that there's no longer a reason for them to be there. Mr. Trump tweeted that we have defeated ISIS in Syria, my only reason for being there during the Trump presidency. But one of the president's key Republican allies isn't on board with the decision. In a series of tweets, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham said the withdrawal of American troops in Syria would be a huge Obama-like mistake. The lawmaker also said that the Islamic State's presence in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan is still alive and well.
In the president's tweet when he said we have defeated ISIS.
So those are the facts. That's what we're hearing out of the media, and most media sources are saying the same thing. So they're it's probably, it's absolutely true that the troops are being pulled out of Syria.
Well, yeah, that's what it is, but I don't know.
So we have Senator Lindsey Graham saying that
the likely suspects.
Yeah,
it's always going to be the John McCain types,
right? The statists, the statesmen,
the war hawks.
Yeah, the people who want to keep us in perpetual war are to keep the money train going.
Oh yeah.
You know, and this is the thing, like what you're seeing, what they're presenting to you on the media is Trump's a bad guy. He's taking these people out of he's taking our troops out of a place that are badly needed because, you know, there's genocide and there's murder and rape, and, you know, Assad is gassing his own people, and we
allegedly
we have to stay there because Russia's there, like, you know, all these reasons why we shouldn't be there, we're there for. And so now, like, okay, so the media is telling us that we need to feel sorry for the people for the people of Syria, and because we're withdrawing, we're going to leave them defenseless. So that's what's going on in the media.
Yeah, and last time I checked, it's Syria, so the Syrian forces that live there.
What did I say?
Should be no. I'm not saying you. I'm saying in general about the story is that they should be handling their own shit.
Right.
We came in there and we bombed a lot of their military.
Right. I mean, we pushed ISIS to the point of there's like very few, maybe some few cells left in Syria.
Right. I believe they were even saying that it was matching the number of what we had. It sounded like they said 2,000 of their forces too.
So there's 2,000 of them and 2,000 of us.
Right.
So
now,
let's sacrifice our guys.
Right, for another country that has nothing to do with anything, really.
Right, yeah. And so the Kurdish...
they don't have anything to do with our freedom.
Yeah, they feel like they're being betrayed by the U.S., who happen to be in that Syria region. The thing with the Kurdish is they don't have any land. They're a massive people. There's probably like,
the Kurds you're talking about now? Yeah.
There's like 2 million Kurds.
They helped us in
and they
this
have
fight,
no land. Like
and in Iraq.
There's no land. They're treated really shitty. They helped us out in Iraq, and here we are. Like they're saying that we're abandoning them. But I mean, if there's 2 million or 3 million Kurds, I mean, and they have a pretty strong security force. I'm sure they can finish off ISIS.
Oh yeah,
especially with the help of Russia, you know, behind them.
Well, I'm not sure about their allegiances, or
Well, I mean, they're all trying to get rid of ISIS.
I know that Assad and the Russians are all on the same page,
right?
But I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So this will talk about them.
But
right
see,
here
this is
if you want me to get this.
See, we get caught up in this whole argument about the politic part of it, right? The politicians and the players and stuff like that. But what's really going on? Like behind the scenes, what are they not telling us? Like what like made Trump decide to pull out?
Right.
I mean, I know he made campaign
promises,
but I mean, it's got to be deeper than that, right? And of course,
there's always some more shit behind the curtain.
And of course, right here on Grim 86 Freedom First podcast, we're going to pull the covers.
Yep. All right, you ready for this?
Listen to this.
So they're going to talk about the Kurds, and then they're going to go into the reason, and we'll highlight
With
it.
President Trump announcing pulling out troops from Syria, is this effectively a green light for Turkey now to move in and do what they want to do with the Kurds?
I think so. And the Kurdish forces, the Syrian Democratic Forces, very much feel betrayed by the US in this case, because it was the Kurdish fighters who fought against ISIS in the name of the West. And now the Americans are letting them down. And I think that this all has to do with a phone call between Mr. Trump and Mr. Erdogan, the Turkish president, last week. And there is a deal, a weapons deal between Turkey and the US that has just been agreed upon by the US administration shortly before this decision of withdrawal, because Turkey will buy American air defense systems worth of $3.5 billion. This is what Erdogan pays to get the green light of Mr. Trump. So this shows that really Mr. Trump has no interest whatsoever in a strategic policy in the Middle East. He's just looking for short-term economic gains that helps his presidency at home.
So, Kristen, if I understand you correctly...
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to pay down the national debt,
Military
right?
industrial complex.
He wants to build a wall. How much is that? How much is that arms deal worth?
I don't know, man.
How much was it worth? She said
something.
Yeah, so $3 billion, right? So Trump needs $5 billion to build a wall.
Yeah.
He's going to get it from somewhere. Now you just figured out where he got it from.
I thought the Mexicans were going to pay for it.
Well, no.
That was a joke.
The Americans are.
Yeah.
No, actually, the Turkish are.
Well, yeah, now they're going to pay for a big chunk of it.
Yeah, that's $3.5 billion.
Billion,
with the B.
Yeah.
Billion.
So, yeah. Just doing a little bit of research, just looking around, and not just like a lot of people would listen to something like that and they wouldn't really
catch it. Yeah.
they would, but they wouldn't really sink in as like, oh wow, that's really what's going on.
Yeah,
like, and this is just a small story that's just kind of swept under the rug.
Literally, it took us maybe
5 minutes,
10
minutes.
minutes to put this together for you guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, just doing that amount of research, that's why we say.
Yeah, one of these times we should do is when
look it up.
Right, exactly. One of these times we should do another camera filming us while we're actually researching.
Yeah, while we're doing it.
Like having us talk and dissect about how they're just lying, the media.
Right. I mean, and it is, because the first video shows you how they use that information to spin it to their to their side.
Exactly,
right?
and we purposely left out most of the news anchors.
Right,
and
we
the
just gave you the facts.
Just the straight up, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the facts.
As much as we could.
Yeah, we don't believe in all that extra stuff.
The
right?
mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, anytime there's an analyst on TV, he's spinning it one way or the other. Depending on who you're watching, I mean, we've talked about this before. The media is not our friend. I mean, it's the bottom line. They have a political bias, and they're going to spin their news their way. So the important thing is you got the first couple, like 30 seconds of the facts. They told you exactly what's going on.
What the story is.
Who, what, when, where, and how. And then we gave you some other information.
Why.
Yeah, some why.
Yeah.
We hit you with a lot of why.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, our stance is that the United States shouldn't be the world's police.
Right. We shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Yeah. So it's like you could say, like, with the small things such, let's see, like Somalia and Syria. Those are two small things, conflicts, whatever you want to call them. They weren't war, but, it's battle. But, I mean, we had a small group of military in there. And you could stay in Somalia forever. You could stay in Syria forever. Now, compared to the big level stuff, Iraq and Afghanistan. Same thing.
Right.
You committed all these thousands of troops in there, and we could stay there forever.
Yeah.
And we were saying before, how do you have a war on crime?
Yeah.
You can never defeat
who are we
a
fighting?
gang.
Like anybody could say they're ISIS. Like we could have 100
They have
people.
homegrown ones all the time.
Yeah,
just
we
pop
could have
up.
100 people show up out of nowhere and say they're all that they support ISIS or they are ISIS fighters.
Yeah, the lone wolf ones that just pop up because they've got radicalized off the internet.
That's the thing. Like,
how do you stop it?
We are in the Middle East chasing ghosts.
Sure.
And spending exorbitant amount of dollars
and
doing
lives.
It. And
on all sides.
Yeah, lives everywhere. I mean, and we're annihilating people like crazy,
Yeah, and they are too in retaliation, and then there's innocents to get caught in the middle of all that.
Right. And that's what bothers me the most is the innocent people.
And then that ends up radicalizing a lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like, okay, so
you would if it was someone else invading us. If it was Russia or
Canada.
No, let's not get crazy here.
Bombing us,
I can't even fathom that.
It's gonna radicalize. It's gonna rattle somebody.
Fucking eating maple syrup and.
Dude, we would be owning the market in Canadian bacon.
Yeah, once it's on the boat. Yeah, eh?
You wouldn't be
hoser.
You wouldn't be riding your rowing your boats anywhere.
Yeah, you'd be riding fucking moose.
Yeah, moose snuggles.
Moose snuggles. Look it up.
Look it up.
So we're all about speaking of hashtags. We were saying before this hashtag pull out. So that's what our stance is here.
Hashtag pull out.
Yeah. So we don't think the troops.
We want everybody overseas to come home.
Yeah.
I know.
Absolutely.
I know our guys are the best in the world at what they do.
No, we're not belittling them.
And they want that action out there, but it would be better if if you came home and defended our borders.
Yeah.
We need those men and women in our communities defending.
Yeah, I mean they're
helping out.
We've talked about it before.
Imagine
about the
if we had a
Constitution,
military force that helped us at home, like rebuilding and stuff like that.
Well,
all voluntary.
That
would be cool.
Well,
man.
That's kind of what the founding fathers were leaning towards.
That would be awesome, man.
So
and only go to war when absolutely necessary.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in defense of the country, not.
Yeah.
What does Syria have to do with anything?
Yeah, no, it's a
or Somalia before that.
It's strategy is what it is.
Or Iraq.
It comes down to. I mean, Turkey's right there.
Yeah.
Then
One could argue.
Then you have Syria. Then you have Iraq. You know, on the other side, you have Saudi Arabia.
Now, one can argue about Afghanistan.
Right.
About that whole thing.
Well, I heard that Trump is pulling out from Afghanistan also.
Right.
You know, I wonder what arms deal that took, you know,
Yeah.
to make to happen.
Oh, maybe an arms deal. That one we didn't go
I mean, we know for sure now what's going on in Syria.
Yeah, Syria is because of Turkey.
Man, that's pretty shitty for the Kurds, man. But, you know,
it is what it is,
yeah,
man.
You know
what I mean?
It really is. You know,
I mean, if you think about it, they've gotten tons of aid from us, so they do have a heads up on this whole thing too.
Right. You know, and it's like that. It seems like anytime we go anywhere, here's the thing: we shouldn't be there in the first place.
Right.
We've established that.
Mhm.
But the second thing is, these guys know that how deep our pockets are.
Oh yeah.
You know, and they're going to milk us for it. And if they don't have to pay for our military themselves, why would they? You know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so this puts them in a position where you know, they have to either help themselves or be overcome by somebody else. You know, we all have that same. We're all in the same boat. We just the United States happens to have more money than anybody else.
Yep. Yeah.
Because of taxpayers like me and John.
Because of theft.
Yeah.
Statism.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that's pretty much it on that, right?
Yeah, and then the government shut down, right?
Well, yeah, that's
That
a whole.
too?
Yeah, that's a whole
Yeah,
other thing. Yeah. Yeah, but they're still taking our taxes, right?
Well, of course.
Yeah, so yeah,
They're
I
not
don't,
really
don't
shut
feel
down.
like they're really shut down.
You know, and you know what's funny is like everybody gets paid anyway.
Oh yeah, there's that.
Yeah, so I mean, the government can shut down and everybody's still getting paid and they're still taking our taxes. It's not really a government shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
It's like vacation. Like you got 3 weeks vacation.
Yeah, most libertarians when they hear there's a government shutdown, they're like, yeah.
Yeah. No, well, I mean,
I'm excited about it.
I wish they would shut down forever.
The real
you know?
shutdown.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
real
sure.
shutdown. But
Sure.
I mean, like, you know, this is like a
Yeah, it's kind of just bullshit.
Yeah.
It is bullshit, actually.
Yeah, it's like a warm beer.
Yeah, and they act like every time there's a government shutdown, it's the first time this has ever happened.
Or
It's happened like,
oh my God,
what, like 10 times in the last fucking...
Like 10 people aren't going to get paid. Oh no, like, fuck. Like
you shut down the goddamn DMV. Oh, well, that's fucking California.
Yeah,
that was the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, they hardly work anyway.
God damn it.
Dude, I was so I know somebody who works for the DMV, right? And one day
I sidetracked this.
One day I was there, and seriously, I must have stood in line for 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
It was 2 hours long, and there was probably around 50 people in front of me. So it shouldn't have taken 2 hours, but for some reason it did. And I finally got to the front. I seen my friend, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, what?" She goes, "Everybody's in the back. Nobody wants to work, and nobody has to work, so they're just all kicking it in the back."
Wow.
Yeah.
Government, dude.
Yeah.
So that's local. That's a state. I mean, you know.
Right.
So, but still, it's the same concept
It's the
across
same,
the
yeah.
board. You know, you get paid. And how many times have you heard like a government official, or I mean, not an official, but a government employee say, "Once I get past my probation or whatever,
once I get my tenure,
I'm locked in."
or my probation,
Yeah.
or once
You're locked in.
Once my year's up, then I get off
Right.
this contracting work for the government or whatever.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, then I can do nothing and be a lazy pig and
Now, don't get us wrong. There are some that do work, but I feel like
whatever.
it's a lot
you
of
work
them.
for the government.
Why
fuck
would you have? Yeah, why would you have
Right.
incentive to work really hard
Right.
if everyone's kind of douching around?
Right.
So.
I think if anybody should like a cool job in the government would be like working in the judiciary system.
I think a cool job would be not working for the government.
That would be a fucking excellent job. Yeah. No, I mean, we're always going to need courts, dude.
Sure, but that doesn't have to be government.
No, not government. But I'm saying like working for the judicial
just the
system
whole.
would be
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
Yeah, just learning the law and shit like that. You know, stuff that really matters. Like the law.
Yeah, he said that. The law. I am
No.
the law.
Like the law is cool. Like when it comes to like property rights and stuff like that. You know, like. But
but they can have you can have private courts and private hearings. I mean, they already have
right.
private what is it called? What is it called?
Oh, when they sit down, arbitration.
Well, there's that, but they have other things that are all private, where
Right.
they can actually just figure out like a dispute between a company
Right.
and an
Well,
individual without,
arbitration does that. Arbitration,
without
yeah.
even having any government involved. So they do that all the time.
Right.
So that already exists. It's already out there, and there's a lot of lawyers and everything that are all private. So, you don't have to have a government to do all that.
No, it can be reduced down to, and this is where I'm going with it, Johnny. We're gonna talk about some libertarianism. Yeah, and so the reason why I brought it up was we talk about property rights, and as a libertarian, we take that very serious. So, in like my estimation, you were saying about like private courts and stuff like that, we could reduce government down to private individual courts that would work on disputes like property rights, stuff like that.
Yeah.
As libertarians, we believe in individual rights as well as limited government, and that is like in essence what being a libertarian is, with the non-aggression principle on top of that.
Right. Or on the ANCAP side, without government.
Right, or without government completely. Yeah, it's,
that's the more extreme, which is more what I am, an anarcho-capitalist.
Right.
Like with a lot of people, they always, with libertarianism, they'll be like, well, I don't see how that could work and whatever. Well, the country was basically found on those ideas.
Right.
For the most part.
Well, all it is reducing the amount of government. I mean, everybody would still live their lives just like they are now.
Well,
except there would be no
right.
less
Well, they
government.
were set up as, basically having the individual above the collective.
Right.
And that's what libertarians believe
in. Thomas Jefferson and guys like John Locke, Adam Smith, John Stuart Mills, and Thomas Jefferson, who were philosophers, who were great thinkers at the time, who came up with the concept or helped write the parts of the Declaration of Independence, which is our founding document for our country. So these guys had the idea, and it wasn't an ideology, and it wasn't a political ideology. It's a philosophy, so something that you can actually live your life by.
Yeah. So that's a total, like, when they're saying, I don't see how this could happen. Well, this whole country was kind of founded on that.
Yeah, and on the idea of individual rights rather than the collective rights.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are a representative republic.
Yeah, and nowadays everything. Yeah, and nowadays everything is about the group, the collective, and this is why I personally don't agree with any of that.
Right, and we shouldn't have direct democracy. Is the problem? Is we have like locally we have direct democracy, and we do things like pass more gas taxes and initiatives for taking care of babies or whatever. More taxation.
Right.
On us, and we're saying we don't want that.
Right.
We want less government interference. We want to make the decision ourselves which charity we're going to give to, not we don't want people with guns coming to our house forcing us to contribute to something that we don't agree with.
Yeah, steal your money and put it into whatever the collective sees fit.
Right. So what's happening is we're moving away from the philosophy of Locke, Smith, Mills, and Jefferson, and moving into more of that Mao society, or that collective, where it's the group above the individual.
Yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah,
that's
where we're at. I mean, you have things like religion, skin color, gender, and sexuality, splitting us all up. When we were born, we were given the right, like our freedoms, right? God, our creator, or whatever we choose.
Our God given them inalienable rights.
Yeah, gave us those inalienable rights, and it doesn't come from that piece of paper, but that piece of paper is a document that.
So that's a good point. So you brought that up, and we've mentioned it on the podcast a few times, but it's like, the Constitution and conservatives and some libertarians, they all go about, and some liberals, they all go about the part where it's like the government is the one that's giving them that right.
Right. No,
and
it's not.
No, it's not. That's not that's not what the founding fathers wanted.
No, the founding fathers wanted two things. They wanted the government to protect our borders and to protect our individual rights.
Correct. Yep.
And it's not happening.
No.
they're
No.
shitting
because
on our
it's
individual
yeah,
rights.
exactly, because the individual rights are
right.
individualism.
Well,
and it's collectivism now.
Well, this is what I always say. You are given those rights by birth.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has the same rights. You and I have the same rights.
Your own property.
Me, and somebody say who's transgender have the same rights. We all have the same rights. Now, if your group is lobbying for more rights for your group, then that's privilege. That's no longer a right. You want privilege. Because you're, like I said, you're by birth given the same rights.
Right.
Everybody's given the same rights.
And it's crazy because it pushes into the whole government is the one giving them the rights, right? So these groups are making it into that thing where it should be more about the individual. We should be all pushing together to promote individual rights, not this one group or the other.
Yeah.
It should be all
and less government. I think that's a big part that people miss. Like, it's not just pushing for individual rights, but it's pushing for less government so we can start exercising our individual rights.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have individual rights, a government, you could have this huge government, right? But then they can't do anything because everyone has their individual rights.
Yeah, but the government always finds a way.
That's
around
why
it.
all government is force and all government is evil.
Right.
To
all of us. I mean, to everybody on this show, at least. And that's where we're going with this. Is like, we want people to exercise their individual rights and keep the government out of everybody's business. Let's not create laws that limit people's movement or limit what the things they can say or what guns they own or where they can travel to.
Yeah.
And it takes a government to limit those things. It's very hard to limit somebody's movements and actions on an individual basis. Then you're going to get resistance on both sides.
Yeah, well, majority rule.
Yeah, right. Mob rule.
Yep.
Mob rule. So, to boil it down to its finest, most purest form, to me, being a libertarian is individual freedom and limited government, and the non-aggression principle. Basically, cause no harm, do no harm. Is basically, what I believe in anyway, as a libertarian. Libertarians working.
Well, we said it on the show is we want smaller government, so eventually we can, once we hit that smaller 1776 style government, then we can work our way out of that. And that's the way I like phrasing it. I'm just saying that's here's the way.
Here's my plan. Like, if I was going to run things, this is what I would do. The first thing I would do is I would reduce taxes. Because tax money feeds the government.
Yeah.
It's like cancer. It's like a cancer cell. Money is feeding the cancer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you cut off the money supply, then the cancer starts to die. Once you cut off the money supply, then you start cutting things like entitlements. You cut things like limit the DMV, limit all local governments, or limit like state governments, and then start limiting government agencies like reduce the EPA, reduce the Department of Energy. I mean, we talked about that whole mess.
Big old waste.
They employ thousands and thousands of people. So once we start cutting taxes and limiting, like killing branches, not branches, but killing like regulatory agencies, then we start to reduce government. We take the FBI out of each state and move them back to Quantico. There's no reason why a federal bureau should be all over the United States. It goes back. Each state goes back to constables and sheriffs, and
keep going from there.
Yeah, keep going from there. I mean, you start by cutting taxes, by killing taxes, and ending the Fed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Chopping down each one of these agencies down to smaller sizes. And
it all starts with ending taxation, though.
Yeah, and
nothing's going to happen without ending taxation.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's like Ron Paul says he's looking at a flat tax, which is no tax.
That would be fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my vision of the future is cutting taxes and limiting government,
Yeah.
expanding individual rights.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you were to end the government in the United States today, then it would be a complete chaos situation.
No, it would happen.
So
it would
you
have
have to
happen
have-
over a
Yeah.
generation.
And that's why you have to have people get freedom-minded.
Right.
And if you had half the population like leaning towards libertarian ideas and small government ideas,
Right.
it's going to change everything overnight just by
Right.
having the people think that way.
Right. So, so a lot of people think that being a libertarian means you're a progressive or a leftist or a radical liberal.
Yeah, so to the conservative folk and the Republicans, they don't understand it, so they go into immediately calling you a liberal.
Right, right.
And then,
Which is a term that was hijacked from classical liberal,
right,
which is closer to the Libertarian Party.
right.
Classical liberal are guys like
Jefferson.
Jefferson. I mean, who happened to be our third president.
Mhm.
He believed in individual freedoms and limited government. And he was a classical liberal, is where I was going with
Right.
that.
The Ron and Rand Pauls are that way.
Right. Or yeah.
They lean that
I
way.
mean, they are.
Yeah. In modern times.
Right.
So they lean that way and they want to get government.
It's just hard for
down the
me
scope.
it's hard for me to reconcile being a libertarian or a classical liberal with a libertarian who's in government.
Sure.
Running on a Republican ticket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ron Paul was the closest, I think, to a true
Right.
libertarian that is running.
Yeah.
Or ran, I should say.
Rand Paul?
Yeah, well, his
Ron
son is a little bit more Republican,
Right.
but still has, I mean, compared to the other guys, it's like night and day difference.
Right. See, yeah, so the new liberal, the radical liberal, I guess, is what I'm going to call them,
Leftist.
Are leftists. They're not classical liberals. They're not liberals like Thomas
The
Jefferson.
term is not right.
Yeah, no. They're progressive. They're leftists. They're collectivists. They fall under the groupthink like churches and cults and they're radicalized. And on the left side, they believe in big government. They believe in taxation. They believe in they don't believe in
It's socialism.
self-ownership. Yeah,
ultimately. it's taking
it's
other
communism.
people's stuff.
It's communism.
It's taking other people's stuff and redistributing
Right.
it to everyone.
Right, and that's what we're seeing on the
Under
left.
force of government.
And what the sad part is they've hijacked the term, or Republicans have labeled them liberals. So the term was hijacked by the Republicans and given to the radical left, right?
Mhm.
So it's not really the term liberal. It doesn't accurately describe the left. They're progressive. They're collectivists. They're, it's like the whole group.
Even the term progressive, I feel like, is a cop out because they're not
because
progressive.
they're
It's
not
old
progressive.
bullshit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not anything progressive.
It's not progressive. So the term liberal is meant in a derogatory way towards the left, and it's not accurate because a classical liberal believes in freedom, individual freedom, and limited government, like we've talked about.
Yeah.
To where the progressive believe in or the left. Let's call them leftist.
Yeah.
The radical left, they want more government. They want to limit your individual rights.
They don't
and
like
freedoms.
the term leftist because leftist identifies with socialist and communist.
Oh, but they
which
are.
is what
I
they
mean,
are. That's what they lean for. Lean towards.
They're democratic socialists or whatever now.
Yeah, which is the same thing.
Yeah. I heard Bernie Sanders describe democratic socialism as the D in Democrat is small D in Democrat.
Yeah, whatever.
It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they
dude?
got small D's.
Yeah,
we got it.
You're an asshole.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders is a classic leftist, to where Thomas Jefferson
is a classic liberal.
Was a classic liberal. A liberal meaning limited government,
right?
Individual rights, property rights.
Well, and anyone at home can look up what a classical liberal is, and look up what Thomas Jefferson believed in, and then you can look at what Bernie Sanders, and you can see how it's not the same.
So let's stop using liberal as a term for the left because they're not liberal. They're leftist.
Yeah.
You know, they believe in socialist ideology, and they want to implement that here. They want the taxation. They want all that stuff. So they're not classical liberals, and they're not liberals in the literal sense either. I mean, they don't want to give generously. They want to take abundantly.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. I know there's people out there who are still going to be confused by the term, who are still going to be confused by the
look up, like we just said.
It's better for you to go out there and get the information yourself rather than have two assholes tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
don't boss me.
But
bro.
we will tell you to look up classical liberalism.
Yeah, look it up.
And socialism.
Yeah, you know, look
and democratic socialism.
I mean, get on board with the freedom fighters.
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought you were going to say the Trump train.
No.
Yeah, fuck that.
No. Like I said, give credit where credit is due, but
I heard that it was the Trump train. It was coming out of he wanted to get into a train.
Huh?
He wanted to pull a train.
You wanted to pull a train?
Yeah, hashtag pull a train. Look it up.
Pull out.
Well, pull out is for the troops.
Oh, hashtag pull out, yeah.
But for the Trump train,
pull out for the troops.
You want to pull a train.
A bullet train?
Sure.
Pull a train.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Bullet trains, I think those take batteries and they go down in the naughty spots.
I think that's where that $3 billion is going.
Vibrators?
To the California bullet train.
Yeah, sure. It's a big-ass toy.
Fuck, man. Wow, dude.
Yeah. It's all the buzz.
Dude, seriously, like, we're complaining about a wall, right? Like $5 billion. Well, this fucking bullet train coming through California is at $75 billion.
And it keeps going up and up.
Yeah, it'll be $150 billion by the end of the year, next year. So
yeah, sure.
And I'm sure it won't even come into fruition. That's how shitty California is. So we're not deep behind enemy lines in liberal-ass California. We are deep behind enemy lines in leftist-ass California.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, do the research, man.
Yeah.
Check it out. We're not bullshitting you.
Yeah. All right, and you want to talk about libertarianism now?
Okay, so let's go into libertarianism. If we're going to do that, we have to talk about the non-aggression principle. I think. Yeah. That's the main course of.
So with the classical liberal, they don't get into any of that.
No, it's more just the individual freedom.
It's basically saying that limited government is there to ensure the individual's freedom.
Individual rights and secure our borders.
Right. And so the libertarians are saying we don't need that.
Complete self-ownership and, all transactions are voluntary.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you just have the different, you have the Austin Peterson, the Ron Pauls,
right,
and then you have the more anarcho-capitalists that want complete freedom.
Right.
So
when we say anarcho-capitalist, just so you guys know out there what that is, that means
without leaders.
Without leaders, so no leaders and
free market.
Free market capitalism. So you're able to go and come as you please. You're not you don't pay taxes on any of your money. And
it's your property.
And there's not road pirates following you around everywhere. So that's to me that's what anarcho-capital is. We don't need
in a
leaders.
nutshell. Yeah.
We don't need leaders, and I'm free to do.
Yeah, all actions should be voluntary.
Right.
The individual is more important.
And
than
this
the
is
collective.
where the non-aggression principle comes in, because it's important that we have that kind of like guideline.
Absolutely.
And it's basically don't harm people, or don't harm anybody, and nobody will harm you. Do unto others as you would do unto yourself.
Well, it's not about no one will harm you, but it's more about
no one should. Yeah.
Yeah. But don't harm anyone, and the only time you can exhibit force is when you need to defend yourself.
Yeah, defending your property, yourself and property.
Yeah,
life and liberty.
Yeah,
that's
pretty much
when you should defend yourself. I mean, our government is slowly eroding away out of our liberty. We could stop it when we end taxation.
Well, yeah, and too many people get caught up in the whole, who's going to protect us and all that. Well, it technically is not the government's job to keep us safe.
Dude, there was just a court who ruled it said they stated clearly that the police do not have an obligation to protect you.
Yeah, it's to enforce the laws. Is what their obligation is.
It's not to protect you. Legally, their only reason to be there is to enforce the law, not to help you. So, with that being said, get a gun, because the police don't have an obligation to protect you. And so, when somebody says, like when you say, end taxes, and and they say, well, next time you need a police officer, you're on
your own.
You're on your own.
Well,
technically you are on your own, because
on your own.
they're not obligated to protect you.
Right, and they don't respond. If you're going to go on a simpler end of it, they don't respond in time.
Right.
So usually, what is the average time in city areas within a 5-minute window? So
you know what the response time is?
What?
It's 13 minutes.
Well, okay, so there you go. So even if it was a 5-minute window, think about how much can happen in 5 minutes.
Oh yeah. Imagine like 1 minute of extreme extreme
a fight
stress,
or attack or whatever.
Extreme stress can feel like a fucking hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever been in a position where you're being threatened or whatever.
And if you don't want, if you're uncomfortable with firearms and you're uncomfortable with that, there's other means of protection that you can do. You can get a taser, you can get a pepper spray, learn jiu-jitsu, learn martial arts.
The Second Amendment it doesn't cover just
arms.
Firearms. It covers arms. So arms could be
knives,
whatever. Swords, an axe.
Anything to protect yourself.
Yeah, anything to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So it's important. It's important that you that when somebody says, if you don't pay taxes and there's no police to protect you, or whenever next time you need a cop, don't call 911 or whatever. They're not obligated to protect you in the first place. So that argument's dead in the water there alone. But I mean, in all actuality, everybody should own a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
some kind of weapon to
I always
themselves.
look at it as if someone's breaking into my house, I would subdue them or take them out.
Right.
And then I would call the cops, because you have to do that with the law that you live, we live under.
Yeah, you can't just kill them and throw them out your front door.
Right? You can't do that. So that would be how I would handle it. I'm not going to go. They always say, like, call the cops first and then deal with the threat. No, I'm going to get my gun first. Yeah, or I'm going to get a pepper spray for at minimum something. Wherever I'm at, if whatever I have at my disposal, I'm going to use.
Right.
First.
And you have every right to protect your property, nutshell.
Yeah, and find out the laws in your local area, what you can use, because some places you can use an AK-47. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have a castle law for your house. Like, anyone that comes in can get shot. Other times you have to show that there's threat. So you have to look at the laws in your area. Otherwise, you're going to be in jail. You should definitely know what the laws are in your state and also in your county.
Right.
As city, whatever. You have local ordinance, and everything's different in each place.
Protect yourself, and we were talking about the non-aggression principle. That doesn't mean initiate force. That doesn't mean go out and harass your neighbor or anything like that. It's protect yourself and your property when you absolutely need to do so. Otherwise, you live a free, happy life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I feel. And I feel like a lot of people are classical liberals or libertarians. They just don't. They're getting tripped up on the
statism.
words.
Yeah, and the statism part of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
statism.
Everyone's been raised through the media, the television, the computer, and the school systems.
Right.
To think this. And some actually, even the same thing with religion. They say obey the government.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, you have all these institutions that are coming against the individual, the collective, and they're brainwashing everyone to think that this is the way it is.
Yeah.
I didn't always think this way. I had to learn on my own what's right and wrong. It's either what's right and wrong, or there's these gray areas, right?
Right.
And that's where I've come to decide, I'm going to do what's right. So,
right. Yeah, and everybody should, because it's what we're supposed to do, living free doesn't necessarily mean being an asshole to everybody, going around stealing people's shit or... Yeah,
well, that's what everyone assumes. They think it's going to be this Mad Max...
Right.
Crazy
like
fucking post-apocalyptic...
Yeah, like we're all living after a nuclear bomb went off or some fucking
because
bullshit,
government failed.
Yeah.
Government's the one that brings the force. Almost all the problems that we have in the world you can track back to
directly
government.
to government. Yeah,
Basically.
Yeah.
We've done this numerous times on the podcast with wars, with the drug war, with anything.
Right.
Even
Well,
the
that's
poverty
why-
situation.
That's why threat number one is threat number one,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Because
Government
we know that
infringement on our freedom.
the government is going to infringe. Maybe the idea that they used to protect our individual rights.
That's
at
like
the
what
forefront?
was it? Franklin, right? Ben Franklin.
Right.
He was the one that said, "I gave you a representative republic if you can keep it."
Right.
And that's clearly we couldn't.
No, we become a republic.
So yeah, exactly. So like a democracy, and that's the
a republic it would be the laws in the prison part of it.
Yeah, but it's ultimately come down to it's still a form of democracy, which is ultimately mob rule.
Right.
So that's basically what it is. It's the 51% can control what the rest of the people want.
So the representatives are not representing us, and the mob. I mean, the democracy fails the individual. Right.
And look at all the laws on the books and everything.
Yeah, we have more laws on our books, but I mean,
800 military bases outside of our fucking border.
Yeah.
For what?
To protect our interests.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more to protect our interests than really be the world's police at this point.
Well, I mean,
it's more our own what we're policing, what we want.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
because the world police is. I never really thought of it that way. It's kind of like, because it's feel goody, but it's really not. It's actually more of just protecting what you said, our interests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, protecting our interests, protecting our resources, protecting, making arms deals with other countries and all that like
crap,
underground, seedy.
And that's just what we know about. Yeah, exactly. And that's just what we hear about and know about. We don't know all the other stuff that's going on in the back burner.
Like you see the movies on TV about how the military operates and that the people who consult on those films and stuff are actually people who work in the fucking government. So I mean you're seeing a little bit
taste of it,
of what's going on behind our backs,
Well, yeah, and they say most of the time, like the stuff that you guys think about and hear about are just a fraction of what we're doing.
Yeah.
They say it all the time. I've heard them. Yeah,
they probably got research facilities all over the world. Probably at every single base in the world, and who knows what we're experimenting on,
And that's just another one of the things.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. It does. Our presence in the world is doing more harm than it is. I'm not going to say that either. What I'm going to say is our presence in the world is not a requirement. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's not a requirement.
Yeah, we don't need to be doing this.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, look at all the tax. I mean, just the tax money alone that we're spending to support our military is 3 times the amount of
hardworking individuals doing what they're
Right.
doing to survive in this world.
Right.
Are getting their money stolen so they can go out and our government can go out and do this
and slaughter people by the thousands.
Yeah, and that's just one of the aspects. It's control, it's power.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, military might.
Yep.
Good old America. And that's why we're here. We're here to say that we don't agree with this stuff anymore.
Yeah, and we're not right wing and we're not left wing.
No, we're just people trying to live, man.
Yeah, we want freedom.
I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I don't want anybody telling me no. Useless government.
Yep. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to?
No, I think we covered it, man.
A little fun sideshow here.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're gonna put up our libertarian video at the end of this.
What is a libertarian?
Yeah, what is a libertarian? And check out our End of Fed video. Check us out on Patreon, Pornhub, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter,
Instagram.
We're there too. Shout out to Alejandra, who's always looking at our page and liking our stuff, and Mari. She's also on there a lot too. So, 2 freedom fighters.
Right on. And I just want to say mostly check out the YouTube and the Facebook, because that's really what we're updating the most.
Right.
The rest of the stuff is just kind of there.
It's coming along when it's coming along.
Yeah.
Also, we're looking for maybe possibly contributors.
Research type.
Yeah, research stuff. Hit me up personally. Find me on Facebook at Christopher Melendez or whatever. Also, send us a message on the Grim 86 Freedom First podcast.
That's probably a good way to do it. On
Hashtag Chris.
Yeah.
And we'll find a job for you. Maybe you can help us out. Research
the Facebook definitely would be probably the best way. For you.
So contributors, maybe some media person that's willing to
say,
to
Chris, I'm looking for a job.
Yeah. Tell me you want a job. I'll put you to work.
Right on.
I'm good at finding jobs.
Jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thank you guys for watching one more episode of Grim 86 Freedom First
the
podcast.
Sideshow
with Johnny and Chris. We'll catch you guys later. Remember, don't trust your leaders. We out. Peace.
Here on Grim 86, Freedom First podcast, we are trying to push the ideas and philosophy of libertarianism. What is a libertarian? I get that question asked all the time. It's pretty much self-governance and self-ownership. Self-ownership is where you realize that you are your own property. You were born as your own property, and no one, no collective, no government has the right to take anything away from you or make decisions for you. You are your own property. Voluntarism is to interact voluntarily with other groups, individuals, without having repercussions on your business, your home, your own body. It's to not have a government, a collective, force you to do anything. Every transaction, every choice should be voluntary. Individualism is where an individual, you, me, anyone, is a single person. They have the right to make their own decisions and their own choices, to know that government does not know what's best for them. The collective does not know what's best for them. The individual knows what's best to self-govern themselves. Individualism is what and who we each and every one of us are. We do not need anyone to tell us differently. We know what's best for ourselves. The non-aggression principle is one of those things that all libertarians agree upon. You can't be a libertarian without believing in the non-aggression principle. Basically, to do no harm. To not initiate force against anyone else. As an individual, you do not put your force upon anyone else. You do not bully people. You do not intimidate people. You interact with people voluntarily with peace. Now, to use force, the only time that would be justified would be in self-defense. So to defend oneself or their family, their loved ones, or even the weak, if someone was getting attacked or assaulted, it would be justified under the non-aggression principle. Things like taxation. Taxation is theft. Taxation is robbery. The government comes and issues force. So they are already violating the non-aggression principle to come and confiscate your earnings and your property. So as libertarians, we are just trying to strive for freedom. Freedom first. That is what we are about.